Hello everybody, it is me, GamePenguin21, and today... So, I don't tend to make a lot of reviews, at least on a lot of different games, but this one kind of caught my attention because I found out about it through, like, Steam's thing, and they had a playtest going on. And probably by the time you're seeing this, I might have streamed it, like, once or twice, and... It, to me, looks like a Marathon, plays like a good roguelike, and kind of has the interesting gunplay of, say, Ultra Kill or something like that. But overall, this game's pretty good. And I would say this game deserves to be at least looked at. And it was made by one guy, and I did a playtest of it, and again, I streamed it, and this shit is pretty awesome. It's like Doom crossed with Cyberpunk with like futurism, and dang, this game is just amazing. And prepare yourself for some of the stuff that I'm about to say here. So we're going to start off with the story, then we're going to go into the gunplay, and then we're going to get into a list of things to try to improve upon the game that I think may or may not be needed. But overall, this is my general understanding of what Void Breakers is, the current story, and the current everything that's been going on in the playtest. So the overall playtest is just the one section where you have one mini-boss, one regular mega-boss at the end of it, and then that's when you then would go into the next section, and then that's when the playtest, or the demo itself, kind of stops. There are two guns in this mode. There's a ton of movement opportunities. There's a ton of augments and other things like that. There's a very decent enemy variety, and overall, it kind of has a interesting... going through this whole, like, AI-powered hell, kinda, or something. It's weird, alright? But let's start off with the story, and let's actually get started onto what we're talking about today. You are Subject 1473, aka Desmond Andrews, and you have been contracted by this AI ball for redacted number of times. In this place, we need to do runs for this AI so we can learn and figure out how to learn, grow, and expand. I actually didn't expect much of a story when I first found out about this in the beginning, but I found this redacted module that contained a voice. One that kind of spoke to me. But that's not important. After the tutorial, that voice is saying that we need to talk, and the goal, with the whole goal of escaping this AI-powered hell that we've found ourselves trapped in.
Well done, fighting this far, but you've only just begun. I've been here far longer. This wretched place will never let you go. An infinite, perpetual testing algorithm, refining itself at our expense. That's all it wants. To learn, to train. We're the rats in his cage. I'll do anything to get my freedom and my life back.
The voice says there is a way to get out just under its nose, and in the end, we need to do that. And oh boy, has the story already got me hooked onto doing this thing over and over again. So the basics of this is that there are apparently thousands of these test subjects that are meant to take on this whole simulation and to help the AI learn and grow. And now, at first, it may look like this and say, well, it will be simple, but oh boy, I have news for you. It's really not. During the runs, you will stumble across data entries from different people going through these runs, apparently. Some of them tried to hold up in specific locations. Some of them became one with the machines to kind of quote-unquote reach enlightenment. Others just seemingly wanted to just end up dying and whatnot. And reading through these is interesting because you also get some interesting small tidbits of lore around the world. A couple other entries also include a somehow weird lockdown where a bunch of the individuals were found conscious, or were found unconscious, but their vital signs were stable, very strangely. And it, again, took me about 4 to 5 runs before I even reached the boss area, and under 10 runs to actually complete the full boss level itself. I actually completed it on stream. If you want to go back and watch that, I'll probably link it in the description. But you get, again, one mini-boss that's actually pretty decent, has a couple of different variations, and you have the main boss of the level, which is this whole big run of this, that, and the other thing. And I'm kind of wondering, like, do you get to keep progress whenever you do this, or do you get to, like, not keep progress? I don't know how this kind of works. It's just an interesting roguelike mechanics, and you'll get very acquired with this, like, voice and stuff, and he gives you, like, ways to kind of hack into it, giving you the access to the second gun in this, but because you don't really get access to just a pistol, whereas with the other one, you actually get access to an assault rifle, which kind of changes very much about the game. So yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about gameplay. So the gameplay is a simple roguelike type mechanic with very interesting movement mechanics. You have a dash, you have a slide, and you have different attack patterns, which is where some of the bullet hell type stuff comes into play. The shoot out like these giant particles that are usually red, and avoiding them usually doesn't cause damage and stuff. And again, the attack patterns are kind of slow, so avoiding it is rather easy. There's also destruction mechanics, which actually come into play in a little bit here, but to basically explain it, you have the access to a pistol, assault rifle, and a few other things, and you can get augments to your guns, or to your body, or to other stuff, in order to actually deal the different main module stuff, which I'll get into in a bit here. But the main gunplay is there are currently 2 different kinds of guns. Each one is very different. You have an access to a pistol, an assault rifle, and they are very different in terms of how you can approach different situations, and the assault rifle is pretty decent. The designs of the weapons are really futuristic and very nice. They do seem to have a couple other different variations like shotguns and a couple other things, but that seems to be more in the main game type stuff. But overall, the designs of the weapons and the animations and stuff, all of that going forward is great. The gunplay is punchy, it's very nice, and has some very good use of it. The destruction is also another thing that doesn't come up too often, but comes up enough that it can change games there. Because the destruction allows you to do a variety of methods, such as picking up, which is basically using like a gravity gun glove thing, launching chairs and shit at an enemy to try to stun them, and then the stun basically gives you both ammo and health pickups. So there is a portion to doing like destructive damage, throwing grenades, destroying the environment. So there is like a pro-con there. Like the pro is you get to stun them. The con is that you end up losing out on like that sort of cover. But that usually didn't come up too much because the dash is good enough to get out of most situations. You have a double jump, which is pretty decent. And your main module that you get with your pistol or your gun is that you get infinite ammo, which is good. I do wish that like there was a way to start off with like different modules in some way, shape, or form, but like the infinite ammo pistol, whatever, is actually pretty decent. Although that is your most basic one, it doesn't really affect too much in terms of it. But in the roguelike mechanics, the roguelike is that you end up having a map and you can pick different sections of the map to go to with these little connector bits to different locations. Each location has something different to do. You have things such as random encounters, which is where you go down and you get a little bit of lore, you fight a little bit of things. You get obelisks, which basically augment your game for a time. You get random loot crates and shops and things, as well as encounters, mini bosses, and other stuff. Sometimes you can even corrupt specific things to make the next encounter harder, but also you get more stuff, so it is, again, that sort of interesting trade-off there. And those roguelike mechanics are very easy to kind of look at and do. I didn't actually know that there was a map at the time. I do think that if you needed to flesh that out, you would need to either have that in the main tutorial when you do like either your first run or something like that. I just think that that would be interesting and better to do that, so that way a person knows like, oh, what they're looking for when they're going forward here. Yeah, so the different modules that you can get per run always come down to a few different variations that usually do tell you what they do. You have projectiles, bodies, and abilities, as well as I think one more, which is usually for like optics and stuff, but that falls under like weapon mods. So projectiles are basically the different kinds of stuff that your gun can shoot. Your gun can shoot anything from corrosive shots to gigantic like pixel guns that kind of glitch things out. And they each have their own pros and cons and do different amounts of damage, but they actually eat into your ammo reserves, other than the first one, which is like your infinite ammo one. My personal favorite was actually the Sparkler, because it did a lot of like good thing for crowd control and did interesting bouncing and stuff. And the particles can be like altered in one way, shape, or form, because again, there's like modules and things to do that for. So there's that. You then have body mods. These ones increase specific things and do it passively. They can increase the things such as giving you more space in your inventory to store more items. They can give you more variety of augments to allow you to, I think, level up specific augments and things like that, allowing you to do this and allowing you to go in and do stuff like that. You then have ability mods, which give you an active ability that allows you to hit F to do things such as shoot lightning and acid, or allowing you to do massive AoE damage or set effects. Even there's one even that can allow you to freeze time for a solid 15 seconds, which allows you to get a lot of stuff done. Though the cooldowns do need to be augmented and stuff like that. And again, there's ways to do it. I haven't really figured out what the repeater specifically does, if that like gives you two of the same thing. It should upgrade it to the point of where you get 2 charges rather than 1 charge or something like that. It's very strange. I'd need to do more research into how they specifically operate, but at the same time, it's one of those things where it just kind of all works together in a very interesting way. And it seems like each gun is going to have a different inventory thing, because the difference between the pistol versus the assault rifle is that you get nearly double the amount of storage capacity that you would normally get with that. It's just an interesting pro-con type maneuver there. And overall, the standard gunplay, just everything is super crisp, super clean, and I distinctly love every aspect of the game in the playtest so far. Again, it's not very long, but it's definitely worth at least looking into it. So with this last section, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about some of my cons and things that I happen to catch in terms of that. There aren't many, but I have encountered a couple of glitches, mainly with the random encounter rooms. I had a couple of glitches both on stream and off stream where I was either stuck or like the room kind of just went away for whatever reason, and it just didn't really operate in the same way that I liked it to. It was very strange. At least when I did it on stream, the actual mechanics didn't allow me to get stuck. I did lose one specific run to this sort of glitch where I got stuck in the elevator because the doors opened and then there was a second set of doors that wouldn't allow me to pass through. So there's that. Unfortunately, there's really no way to kind of fix that other than to maybe look into it again, or make it so that way when you push the elevator, that you have to push the elevator button in order to encounter the random encounter, which I think would probably make it better overall, instead of just like walking in and then having it do it automatically, because sometimes you want to walk in just to like see what it is, or like, you know, whatever. Plus, it would also be cool because then you could just like say, hey, this is lab 427 something something something, and like, you know, that'd be pretty cool doing a little bit more of that. The controls are something that I personally also struggled with. That's just mainly just because of how, like, where specific controls seem to be. Like, B is very much so grabbing something. Those things can be easily customized, obviously, but I do think that there needs to be some sort of like better default control scheme, at least a little bit. I think it would just be easier if, say, Q more specifically was actually like for the void thing. I think that'd be pretty decent. Or a couple other things, definitely more so than anything else. as well as a sprint toggle. Holy Jesus, a sprint toggle would be nice. My pinky has never felt so hurt from running around environments. Having a toggle would be really easy to implement. A sprint toggle would be nice as well. Again, not too much out there. Fleshing out the story in the world is probably other things that can be done. But here's a couple of things that I think could also be utilized and made into the game more easily, just to make certain combat mechanics and things flow better. This is just going to be rattling me off a couple of the stuff that I happen to figure out. More movement opportunities, things like wall running, grappling hook, maybe adding a more dash system where you can have you can upgrade the amount of dashes that you have. That'd be pretty cool. And a teleporter type dash where you can set down something with one tap, go to the other side, and cart around the enemy and then teleport back to that one thing. Maybe doing that would be a pretty cool idea. Again, having more dashes would be always fun and nice. Maybe having some sort of ground pound mechanic would be pretty decent. I also think that another thing is that you need a melee, I think, because while, not having a melee does allow you to focus more on the gunplay, I think that having some sort of melee or maybe even a parry type mechanic would be pretty cool. You get a sword and you can, if you time your melee just right with the particles, you can shoot them back at the enemies, kind of like how they do in Ultra Kill. I think that would be better as more of an augment, something that you can find along the way, rather than it being just a standard mechanic. But some sort of melee, a very close range melee or kick type mechanic could be very good to help mitigate certain situations. That kick could also then send you flying in the opposite direction, allowing you to again kick off of walls and stuff like that. That would also be a very good thing. Another thing would be more damage mitigation type stuff to help ease the pain of trying to stun enemies and get the health packs there, and me diving through 5 different enemies to try to get health regen back. Having an overshield mechanic could be helpful. This was basically where you do X number of damage and you take an overheal, allowing you to take a hit or two of the regular particles. And before it eats into your main health, that could be just a recharging thing, kind of like how it is in Halo. Again, that could be an augment or something like that. I think that that'd be a very good idea. I do think that health boxes, because you have boxes for different currencies, I do think that a health box and an ammo box type thing, where you have to shoot the box or destroy the box in some way to get to get it back, those would be pretty cool to have. You could have those be at least a couple of that. I think that that's more specifically designed around that, and they would be much rarer than specific other boxes, but it would just help in certain contexts because, again, I never really found myself, once I got a hang of everything, I never really found myself getting the mechanics down worse than that. A shield projection ability. This one would be similar to how you have the reload, where you can have a shield around you as a dome. This one would be more of a front-facing shield that you could be able to throw out by hitting F, which gives you a pretty decent, a thing of cover. What I think it would be working with, though, is it would be solid cover where you can't shoot through it, but the enemy can't shoot through it, or just make it similar to how you have the dome, where you can still shoot through it and enemies just can't shoot back through it. It just kind of works in that context. That'd be pretty cool. Again, for those damage mitigation things, I think that would be really pretty neat as well, just because it would help. Having again, that same F mechanic doing an overheal or an overshield type thing, where it heals the shield, or has an overshield that does a pretty decent amount, but it will slowly decay over time, and then is on cooldown or whatever. That'd be pretty decent. More objectives would probably be better, because your main objective seems to be going into the arena and killing all of the things. There was certain objectives where you could take an object and put it into a thing to download the code. That'd be pretty cool. I think that to just kind of rattle off a couple of them, you have to collect or destroy a specific obelisk, having targets with a specific enemy other than the mini-boss one, having to kill a certain number of enemies that constantly respawn would be helpful, or having in that context where you have a black hole or an opening event where you have to go around the arena and shut off each of these levers in a specific order, and you have to kind of figure out which order they're in. That would be pretty cool. Just a variety of stuff and more objectives could make each run more interesting and better flesh out specific aspects. That'd just be pretty cool. I think that also what you could end up doing is you could have a multiplayer or a co-op type experience. Now, the difference here is that it's going to be very difficult to do that, and it's going to be very weird to do that. So the basics that I have written, at least in the terms of my script here, is I would like to be able to encounter maybe other players or work with other players to do runs. Like, you can invite them to your thing, or you can have them be wherever you want in there. Like, again, I do believe that it's more of like an isolated thing and that there is stuff like that. I just think it would be interesting, right, if we were able to encounter other players via our islands intersecting. Like, we can see other players going through islands, but we can see ourselves, and we can encounter those players in an arena and either have to work together or work against each other to see who wins and who dies, which, again, I'm not sure if you'd want to do the versus thing. It's just an idea. But having the ability to see more than one people makes it just kind of interesting and would make an interesting challenge, aesthetic to the actual game, allowing more people to kind of try to be like, oh, I can encounter you in this and blah, 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 blah. And of course, always more base customization as well, just to kind of round off the sort of wish list type thing. Overall, I had a great time with this playtest. I definitely think that Void Breaker does have some very good, like, actual stuff to it. Definitely more than some of the other AAA games that we've probably talked about in this time. And the playtest is still going on at the time of me both recording this, and probably after the time I post this too, hopefully, maybe not. It ends the 24th of April this month, so again, check dates and things like that. This might be posted either Saturday or Thursday, so you have about a week-ish until the playtest is over. I'd highly recommend giving that man feedback, giving him some feedback and stuff. And if you do know him, send him this video just so you know he can take some of these pros and the cons and stuff that I've talked about here, and blah, 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 blah. But overall, my opinion on this game is very high. It is a good game. Solid Loop has a bunch of different goods and stuff to it, and I played it enough to kind of be like, I would want to keep an eye on this game personally, and I definitely think that if I were given more time, I would probably be able to complete the whole game or give you more of a full-on talking point of this. But overall, I had fun with the game, and I think that you would too. And that's all that I have to say on that. My name is GamePeng21. Hope you all enjoyed this video, and a peace off.
Hey man, can I get a favor?